All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for doing every day you show up, and I really appreciate it because these things help to get the life to the FYP. The rest of us, please let's power tap as well. Let's be like Koboko and Happy 71 on Elevation Labs. Thank you very much. All right. Oh, we're going to have a great time today. I can tell. Today we are revisiting a session we had a while back, right? So it's going to be a replay. And we titled it then, When a Woman from the Southeast Tried to Rewrite History. But that's a mouthful. So today we're calling it Debunking the Igbo Propaganda About Nigeria's History. But like I always say, it's important to say some things first. Good evening, Koboko. Thank you very much, sir. It's important to say this, that we don't have these conversations because anybody's attacking anybody. People say, why are you always talking about these people? Because they've spent decades spinning lies and twisting facts and essentially carrying out psyops on the rest of us in this country. And so what we're doing really is to set records straight, not to continue with that tradition of propaganda or lying or insulting people. That's not what we're doing here. So we're debunking certain things that have been said, myth, propaganda that have been out there for a bit. And the thing is that for the most part, people haven't really questioned some of these things. Okay, people just say, okay, you know what? The war happened, so let's let it go. You know, and we've done that for a bit. We've been doing that since 1970. Actually, we started doing that in 67, around the time the war started. You know, the opinions of people started changing, which makes sense because people are suffering. But then I think they latched onto that and then decided to create their own version of history. And it would have been cool if they kept those things in their own space, but for some reason they decided to, you know, force those things down our throats. So if you come here and you discover that we're having this conversation, it's because it's important to set the record straight and know exactly what happened, rather than just, you know, allowing lies go on in the name of wanting peace. That's not peace. That's the silence of a graveyard. All right. My battlefield says because the Igbos are central to the Nigerian conversation. Well, yeah, they are. And so we're going to have the conversation. We're going to talk all about it in the video. A lady said some things, and normally they would get away with that kind of stuff, but not anymore, because we're going to interrogate the claims, which is what we're going to do in today's video. Before we get into all this, let me welcome folks on YouTube, on Facebook. We're going to bring up Twitter later. But thanks, guys, for joining us on Facebook and on YouTube. Please like the live and also share. If you're on YouTube also, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Busui Oris. Thanks for being here. All right. If you're on TikTok, please don't stop our tapping. Also, click on the heart icon above my image to join the team. If you're a member of the team already, kindly drop a heart me, drop gifts. These things help push the live to the FYP, coupled with the likes, the power tapping that people are doing. Thank you, Olarinwaji, for joining. Thank you so much for liking the live. All right, so that's that about intro. Okay, by the way, happy Good Friday to everybody, particularly Christians. It's Good Friday. We'll be here on Easter Sunday and Monday. We'll come and eat Easter rice and chicken. And of course, more importantly, to celebrate the fact that Jesus rose on the resurrection morning. Okay, so let's get into today's conversation. Debunking the Igbo propaganda about Nigeria's history. This particular session is about claims made by a woman, and rather than just say you're wrong, we decided to go into books to try to understand what they're saying and to actually, you know, set the records straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by reading the description. You find this video on our YouTube channel, When a Woman from the Southeast Tried Rewriting History. I'm going to read the description, then we'll get into the conversation, okay? The lies from the Southeast never seem to end. After all these years, and with all the research, books, and verified data available, some folks from the southeastern part of Nigeria continue to push falsehoods with full confidence. Here is an Igbo lady who accuses others of being misinformed and then turns around to misinform everyone with a mix of ignorance, lies, and propaganda. She claims that the coup was led by Yoruba people who were used by Awolowo, a bold-faced lie, and then adds that the Igbo people were used by the Yoruba. She spends the entire time deflecting blame away from her own people and refuses responsibility for historical events. Toward the end, okay, wait though, Matonka. Sorry guys, my device needs to be, I think something happened. But don't worry, if I have to start over again, I will. This thing algorithm. Okay, beautiful. Let's start all over again, okay? The lie from the Southeast never seemed to end. After all these years and with all the research, books, and verified data available, some folks from the southeastern part of Nigeria continue to push falsehoods with full confidence. Here is an Igbo lady who accuses others of being misinformed and then turns around to misinform everyone with a mix of ignorance, lies, and propaganda. She claims that the coup was led by Yoruba people who were used by Awolowo, a bold-faced lie, and then adds that the Igbo people were used by the Yoruba. She spends the entire time deflecting blame away from her own people and refuses responsibility for historical events. Toward the end, she falls into the tired victim narrative, seeking empathy and pity. The question is, why rewrite history in a way that paints our people as superior and at the same time as victims of everyone else? We are here to set the record straight with facts and clarity. Here is why, when a woman from the Southeast tried to write history, debunking the Igbo propaganda about Nigeria's history. Please tap, like, share as you listen. Enjoy. There's a lady from the north who has been speaking up about, Igbos and stuff for a while. And this other lady who is from the east, who is always saying her own version of truth, or maybe I should say her idea of what the truth is, which is usually not the truth. Anyway, she decided to respond to the northern lady. And then she just went on and rewrote history. I'm going to play what she said. If I'm able to, we'll listen to everything and then I'll respond. If not, we'll probably be breaking it because most of what she's saying is arrant nonsense. And the purpose of her video is to appeal to your emotions. But I can assure you, I like Fulam. We'll talk about it before we move on to other things. Let's take a listen to this lady. She calls herself Lolo. And more listen.
Hello, Nigerians. My attention has been drawn on a young Hausa Muslim lady. I don't know her name. And I think she is so excited about Nigerian history. And I'm not going to condemn her because she's too young for the information she's giving out. So it's obvious that she was brainwashed, she was lied to. So I'm here to address her and then...
The person talking, how old is she? She never reached 60. All this, you're too young, you're too young. If you're able to study these things very well, and you have common sense, and you study across board, you will know what happened. Age doesn't confer wisdom on anybody. I mean, some of us are not that young, but it's not even about age, right? It's about being able to actually listen to all sides and know what happened. Because this one, that yes, she may be older than the Hausa lady, but what she's about to say, just take a listen.
I'm here to address her and then give her the real history, the real gist about Nigerians, because the youth now have gone on rampage. They say they want to take back this country and they want to fix Nigeria to be a working nation like every other nation. So I think a young woman like her should be towing that path. But since she has some false information, I'm here to educate her. Now, she specifically said it was troublesome. Igbos are the ones trying to divide. My young lady, it was Igbos that work for the unity of Nigeria. In fact, Igbos played a strong part in the amalgamation. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe spearheaded it. Even the Yoruba did not just like it. Hausas did. It was Igbos that work for the unity of Nigeria. In fact, Igbos played a strong part in the amalgamation. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe spearheaded it. Even the Yoruba did not just like it. Hausas.
Wait, Azikiwe was born in 1904. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was born in 1904. The amalgamation took place in 1914, so he was 10 years old. Papa Awo was born in 1909, so he was only 5 years old at the time. So, when did Zik, Awo, and the Hausa sit down to discuss amalgamation? Hell! To Fiakwa. It's going to be a long one. Let's continue. We'll go back just a bit. Kobale makes sense. Okay. Amalgamation.
But since she had some false informations, I'm here to educate her. Now, she specifically said it was troublesome. Igbos are the ones trying to divide Nigeria and the rest of it. Now, my young lady, it was Igbos that work for the unity of Nigeria. In fact, Igbos played a strong part in the amalgamation. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe spearheaded it. Even the Yoruba did not just like it. Hausas did not. It took Zik a lot of time to convince the Hausas on this Nigerian nation. And then for
the only time that Zik had to convince the Hausas was when the Hausas wanted to secede. And that was in the 50s, before independence. And they had a session in Yaba. And Zik gave a speech in Yaba. And he was telling them that, if you go, you'll be landlocked. You will have a problem with C. No, it's not secession clause. It has nothing to say. It wasn't about secession clause. This was even about the fact, this was before the London conference. The North wanted to secede, and they was telling them why they should not secede. Zik had no business. Zik was not the one that even moved the motion for independence. He was attending now representing an action group. He said Awolowo did not like unity. Really. Number one, this amalgamation nonsense that she even said has spoiled everything, because there is no way any of them was there when they were having conversations in 1914. That's a fact. But that Zik did something that everybody did not do, it's just rubbish. But oh boy, I'm already tired listening to this, but let's just continue. It may not be like say we have to finish what we started, so let's finish it.
For those of you who are saying Igbos are dominating, Igbos are greedy, Zik ceded the Prime Minister to Tafawa Balewa and accepted to be just a ceremonial president.
Zik did not cede the Prime Minister position to Tafawa Balewa and agreed and accepted to just be a ceremonial president. No. 1,000 times no. Zik couldn't make that decision. The decision was made for Zik. Zik didn't decide that thing. He did not. Let's talk some history. 1955. It came out that, and the person who helped us actually know about what was happening was Eyoita. What we discovered was, or what the nation discovered in 1955, was that Zik had been essentially pilfering, taking money that belonged to the Eastern Region Marketing Board, funneling it into the African Continental Bank, his own bank, using that money to fund his businesses. And by 55, they discovered that the business was already essentially bankrupt. He couldn't pay the money back. At that time, the money was already £877,000 pounds. The matter went all the way to House of Lords in the UK. And then there's something called Foster Sutton Tribunal that was put together to actually get to the root of the matter. And they discovered that Baba don't smash money. I don't even know how to speak PG very well. The man has misappropriated funds. Zeke, right, was going, there's actually a plan between Action Group and NCNC, Awo and Zeke in 1959. What happened in 55, and then there was a House of Lords. I have the document here, the answered in 1956, and then there was Foster Sutton Tribunal, right? And by 59, AG and NCNC, that's Awo and Zeke, were supposed to work together, and the plan was for Zeke. The plan was for Zeke to be Prime Minister and Awo to be Minister of Finance. That was the plan. Because it's not today's topic, that's the only reason I'm not going to be opening books. But if you want me to tell you books, I'll tell you. If you read the answer, I already mentioned Answered, is online, by the way. The Answered is online. You can literally read everything about the case there. Right? If you read Fatherless People by Dele Ogun, it's right there. So what happened was this. While the Western region or the Action Group, AWO, had the plan with Zeke, and they were like, okay, this 59, we're going to make this happen. By the way, every single time there was an alliance between the East and the West after 1953, every time we have had an alliance had been at the instance of the West. In 1953, the first time there was going to be a partnership was at the instance of Zeke himself when he went out of the House of Representatives building to talk to Action Group members who had walked out of the parliament because of the case that had to do with independence. Chief Anthony Nauro had moved the motion for independence in 1956. The North said as soon as practicable, it became, whatever. The Action Group delegation walked out. Part of NCNC remained, another group walked out. When they walked out, they had a conversation with AG. That was the first time they had an alliance. That was in 1953. 59 was at the instance of the Yoruba, the Action Group. Only for them to discover, they had gone, according to some reports, gone to Asaba, hoping to have a meeting and to discuss, finalize what was going to happen, Action Group and NCNC alliance, only for them to discover that Zeke had gone to work with the North. But why did he do that? Now, there's a report by a man called Harold Smith, who was a British colonial officer, got to Nigeria in 1955. Some of his statements are in the book I mentioned earlier, A Fatherless People by Dele Ogun. And he mentioned that because of the case that Zeke had, having misappropriated £877,000 in 1955, they told him he would go to prison. He had only one option, that is to work with the North. Now, I said all I said before I mentioned this because people are also taking that out of context. Say, Oyinbo's cajoled Zeke to work with the North. They would not have been able to do that if he had not stolen money. He misappropriated funds. The British got him to work with the North. And that's how he became ceremonial president. And guess what? I think I should play a video. We're going to come back to this. It should not be sweet like that if I don't play this video. Give me a second. I want to play something from Harold Smith himself. That's the colonial officer. He granted an interview and he said something on this matter. He was there, by the way. So I think we should listen to him. It wasn't just there on the road, though. It was representing the interests of Britain. Take a listen, please.
The British government wanted the North in alliance with either of the southern region, either with the Yorubas or with the Igbos.
But
without which they cannot
they can't do it this
rule the country.
The problem was that Awolowo was a highly principled man.
Okay.
You didn't talk to Awolowo about squalid deals and fixing things. Awolowo was not that kind of person. If you read his books, this man was a world statesman. And his young lieutenant, Chief Enaharo, was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. However, they did do a deal with Zik, Dr. Azikiwe,
Okay.
from the East. Dr. Azikiwe, there was this big problem in Nigeria. It's the same big problem in America and in Britain. How do you get funds to fight elections? The candidates in Nigeria had no money, but they did have marketing boards, which were a kind of semi-nationalized industry. And they borrowed money from the marketing boards. But there was a suspicion that Dr. Azikiwe, who has formed his own bank, the African Continental Bank, was actually bankrupt. But he was borrowing very large sums of money from the marketing boards and not necessarily repaying the loans. We knew this. We had a great secret service. All the politicians' phones tapped. All the politicians' mail was opened. Everything that any major politician did in Nigeria was. We watched. We knew all that was going on.
Are you saying, in essence, that Dr. Azikiwe took money?
He was blackmailed by the British to do our bidding. We told Dr. Azikiwe that he could go to prison if an inquiry was carried out into his bank and his financial circumstances. However, we would not want to be vindictive if Dr. Azikiwe was cooperative in helping forward the plans that we had made in the best interests of Nigeria. Dr. Azikiwe has nothing in common with the northern politicians. He loathed the northern politicians. But Dr. Azikiwe went north and did as he was told. And what he was promised was this: the real power, effective power, would be in the hands of the northern emirs. However, it would look great if the president was Dr. Azikiwe and he was given a field marshal. He asked, please, could he have a... That was a bit difficult, you know, to get the medals. So when the ambassador started arriving, he was known to be asking people from foreign countries, you know, perhaps they had a medal for his uniform. We thought this was terrible, but it was said that this happened. He was very vain. And for a time, he functioned as first the Governor-General, and then when Nigeria became a republic, as the president. But he had no power. And when he did try to tell the army, he said, I'm the field marshal, the army's got to do this. They said, hey, you're just a ceremonial figure. You have no power.
So Zik was a puppet and was made so due to his criminality. You could say that. I read some things from the Force Assaulting Tribunal, from the Force Assaulting Commission of Inquiry report. We're going to have another session to discuss this whole thing, right? But here's something from that tribunal. This from Cambridge University Press, by the way. It says, the tribunal concluded that Azikiwe's conduct, quote, fell short of the expectations of honest, stable people, end of quote. The Eastern region had placed large sums in 1955, reportedly £877,000, funds from marketing board reserves into the bank via the region's finance corporation. The ACB extended favorable loans to companies controlled by Azikiwe's group at low interest, with repayments deferred until much later, even though ACB, African Continental Bank, was financially unstable. The pattern suggested a serious conflict of interest. A public official, who is the premier of the region, effectively using his public position to channel public funds into a private institution in which he had personal interest, and now use that money from that private institution to fund his own private businesses. Contrary to accepted standards of public office is equal to public trust. However, the conduct as below the standard expect of honest, reasonable people. It did not impose criminal or legal sanctions against Azikiwe. Why? Because of what Aaron Smith just said. So the idea that Zik was like, oh, I'm a statesman, I don't want to be a premier. You be the premier. I'm just going to be this ceremonial president. After all, what are friends for? That's nonsense. It did not happen. Let's go back to the lady talking, whatever she's saying. But we'll be stopping and playing. But let's continue now.
It's a Nigerian nation. And then, for those of you who are saying Igbos are domineering, Igbos are greedy, Zik ceded the prime minister to Tafawa Balewa and accepted to be just a ceremonial president. So it shows the quality of Igbos. The rebellious one was Awolowo, who contested for the Senate and did not win. So he became rebellious from then on.
This girl doesn't have sense. Listen, anybody that insults Yoruba elders, particularly Awo, as far as I'm concerned, they are stupid. I don't care how old they are. They could be 75. They'll still be stupid to me. But let's even respond to what she says. She said that he tried to go to Senate and he didn't win. That's nonsense. He clearly won. He went to go to the federal parliament and he won. And guess what? He became leader of the opposition in parliament up until the time he was sent to prison. He won. What did he not win? What he did not win was the slot to become prime minister. Why? Because they couldn't constitute the majority. This is why I say fools grow old. Though. What's with this nonsense? I always wonder the condescending tone with somebody that you could never, your fathers could not lace his shoes. Your grandfathers could not lace his shoes. Then you now come and lie again, say he didn't win. He won. He was in parliament and he was the leader of opposition. But you wouldn't know. Instead of you to be reading books, you'll be listening to Radio Biafra.
Now, what actually caused the war, my young lady, is Awolowo that caused that war, because he was so restless when he couldn't win the Senate, and when there was an election in the southwestern region, I think Zik won and he rebelled. Do you know that Awolowo was the first?
Jesus is Lord. Is there a school for stupidity in the southeast? Zik won. Where? When? Zik's winning was 1951. When I discussed it, happened in 1962. Jesus is Lord. Zik did not even win more than his own seat. And he was trying to become the leader of business government, and he lost. Just like you guys will keep losing anything else to the federal government. It's the truth, by the way. Someone said Zik won before the war now. Which seats did Zik win before the war? In the East? Did he even run for any seats after he became premier? He was premier from 54 to 59. Then he went to federal. He went to become president, and that was it. He was elected in 51. And he won, by the way, Yoruba land. And then went to Ibadan to represent Lagos. And then when he could not, then he wanted to become the leader of government business, and he did not do it. He couldn't win. And so what did he do? He moved back to his base in the east, and then he became premier in 54. He didn't have to run for any office. 59, he could have, but then again, yeah, we listened to Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith tells us, what happened, became, and so, yes, until 79. And guess what? What he did in 59, he repeated in 79. Awolowo still initiated, this pact. By the way, there's a book, Nigeria on the Keg of Gunpowder, by Victor Taiwo, that talks about the fact that he said he wasn't going to even run in 79. At the time, in 1979, Zeke was 75 years old. Because we talk about these people, it's worth mentioning, he was 75 years old. So he said he wasn't going to run, he was going to be the statesman. Then he changed his mind and said the old man that said King Kong young man, he did one parable. Then he eventually ran as the NNA presidential candidate. As Awolowo had, talked about alliance with NNA, UPN and NNA, he broke that agreement just like they did in 59, 20 years after the same thing, every single time. That's why when I hear all this nonsense about Southern Alliance, you must be very, very ignorant to think that you can have an alliance with the Southeast and then you can do something. It's not because they are bad people, it's just because they have a different mindset and they have a different, goal, which is okay. I'm not saying you should change your goal. I'm just saying that based on what you are and who you are and your goals, I can't work with you. Every single time there was going to be an alliance between the West and the East, now the West go say more drum, now the East go break them. Now the East go come they cry all over the world, say they don't betray me. Now you betray people. More continue. I don't know how many minutes I don't take listen to this 5 minutes video, but okay, it's 5 minutes 54 seconds. Let's continue.
Do you know that Awolowo was the first person to go to prison for treason in this country? Not an Igbo man. It was a Yoruba man, the first person to go to prison for treason. And he was in that treason and coerced his own people.
Did he go to prison for treason? Yes. I would it. I know what, one of these days, I think we should do a session on that thing because there's a lot of nonsense. Let me recommend 2 books on this treason issue. There are many books. 3. We should have a session on this treason thing. And what happened with Justice Showemimo and the exact words he uttered, just like we can talk about what, they said with their guy. Chief Awolowo, The Political Moses by Odugua. My March Through Prison, Adventures in Power, Book 1 by Awolowo himself. And then Chief Awolowo, there's another book called Adventures in Power, Book 2, Travails of Democracy and Rule of Law. I will say this. As at 1961, Akintola was already pushing the idea that Awo was planning to upturn the government. And that's why you discover that the idea that they just came and said, oh, he did it, they set it up for over a year. When they had the Just Congress, that was the first time that thing came out. And came out from Akintola. When we have the session, we'll talk about it. It was a setup. You couldn't say this is what he did or what he said. That's why when I saw Aloy Ejimako, I don't know what kind of gut you would have in your life to compare Awo and your Kanu. That's impossible. You couldn't say what he said. You could say, we heard this, we heard that, but nothing concrete. But the accusation began long before 1961. Awo had to do this thing where they call the leaders of Yoruba people, including Obade Soja Deremi, in that meeting, and Awo said, this is what he has been saying. And then he started saying, I didn't really say it. Then they called the other two people that he had told those things, and then they said, he didn't really tell us. And eventually used it against him in 62. It was a setup. And we have evidence. Not all this your rubbish that you're saying. We have evidence. It's not there. It did not happen. But did he go as prison? Yes, it did. But guess what? While the next thing she's about to say right now will make me spend some time discussing this thing. Emma Bruno, okay? But let's listen to. I'll just go back a little bit. Take a listen, please.
In this country, not an Igbo man. It was a Yoruba man, the first person to go to prison for treason, and he was in prison who has his own people to carry out so that he can come out. And some young Yoruba soldiers convinced Igbo soldiers. And of course, in their way and manner, they deceived Chukwuma to lead that coup, for which he did. And then that coup.
This is insanity. Anybody that knows that should tell her, this is insanity. This is insanity. Number one, there's no way on God's own earth that the man was planning a coup from Calabar prison. The people who planned the coup never, 200 people were interrogated in April of 1966. Between January and April of 66, a document was published. Not in April, by the way. The document came out maybe about 20 or so years ago. It was declassified. It's called the Special Branch Report, April 1966. Not once did they mention Awo. All of them, interrogation, 200. And the ones who wrote books did not even mention Awo in that light. And I'm going to tell you what they said. Because this lot will always mention Adewale Ademuyiga, go and read where we struck. They have never read that book. They only mention that book because the person that wrote it is Yoruba. So let's break this thing down. Number one, he said he was in prison when he was planning it. Ask her for what's this? What do they call this? Ask her for proof. She'll tell you, I don't feel like I give you. The proof of liars and propagandists from the Southeast, and this has been the case since the 40s, is always, I don't feel like I give you. They have nothing of this, it's just nonsense. There's no proof that happened. He said he convinced Yoruba officers. So I want to ask if hear the names and let me know if these names are Yoruba. Don Okafo, Emmanuel Fajuna, Ogbo Oji. Are those the Yoruba people that called Nzogu to go and start a coup? If you read the Special Branch Report of April 66, in August of 1965, that was when they began to plan this coup, and there were 3 people who started the planning. August 65. By the way, that was about a year after Ojukwu and Azikiwe were going to have the coup in 64. And you can find that in Sheikh Shagari's book. We talked about what Azikiwe was trying to do, but didn't really go deep. If you want to go deep, you have to read David Edgeworth's book, Reminiscences, and then put that together with Emeka by Frederick Forsyth. That somehow Welby Everett was able to stop. 65, those 3, Emmanuel Ifajuna, Don Okafo and Ogboji, started planning the coup and began to get people to work with them. So they recruited a number of people. They recruited Humphrey Chukwuka. Then they recruited Chris Anufuro. Then Chris brought in Nzogu around October. Then Nzogu brought in Adewale Ademuyiga around ending of October to beginning of November. So the idea that Yoruba people got Nzogu to organize a coup is only insanity. You have to be very stupid and be mad to say that. Because not only is it a lie, it has no basis in reality. And guess what? They were happy to do it. And the Igbo people celebrated that coup as their own. after Ironsi became the head of state. And you see it in books by Shehu Shagari, Bekon to Serve. You see it in The Tragedy of Victory by Godwalabi Sama and The Origins of the Civil War by Azikiwe. They were glad to say it was their own coup, and it worked. Then they said, number one, I don't know how Awo in prison is able to get this. Number one, there are no Yoruba people to even fight this stuff. The Yoruba people that got involved in it, if you read the book by Fola Oyewole, they got involved around to 11:35, 11:40 p.m. 11:40 p.m. on the D-Day. And if you read the book that they always tell you to go and read, please be Yoruba, please read that book. You should read the book, because it's not only lie they get the inside this word. Adewale Ademoyiga said all of them did not know what they were there for. And that is also confirmed by Ben Bule in his book, Nigeria's Five Majors. And Ben Bule is Igbo. Then he said that Ola was going to become head of state. No, that's stupid, because a person is in prison. The book that everybody is always talking about, Why We Struck, the man said they planned to release Awo from prison. That's where he stopped. And then he said that the government they wanted to run was going to be a military government. It wasn't about civilians. It was going to be military government, and they planned to create 14 states in Nigeria, 7 in the north, 7 in the south. That's in his book. So what he wrote was that they're going to release Awo from prison in Calabar. However, when you read Special Branch Report of 66, it turns out that there was no plan for Calabar at all. Which means that the Yoruba man was brought in with this fine stuff about, we're going to release Awo because a prisoner of conscience. But there was no plan. I've said it several times. There were 5 capitals in Nigeria in 1966. Because there were 4 regions. There were 5 capitals in 1966. And there was one place of interest. The 5 capitals were Lagos, Ibadan, Kaduna, Enugu, and Benin. One place of interest was Calabar. Of all those 6 places, they only planned for 3. Lagos, Ibadan, and Kaduna. That was it. They had no plans for Enugu, had no plans for Benin, and definitely had no plans for Calabar. The man was supposed to take the helicopter, the chopper, to go and take Awo from prison. Sunday was not available the day before. The one that was supposed to go to Enugu did not leave Lagos until evening. If you allow these people lie to you, it's your fault. And the reason people have been quiet for Igbos because they suffered. You cannot use, we can't be doing trauma bonding. If you suffered or suffer, you can't use your suffering as a cover to perpetuate lies about others. Let's listen to a few more things.
That coup was actually to release Awolowo from prison and make him president so that you can have peace. But eventually it was foiled.
Also, the idea that the coup was put together to make Awolowo president was first published by none other than the Eastern Region newspaper in 1967, 1 year after the fact. 1.5 years, as a matter of fact. 1.5 years after the fact, that was when the Eastern Region decided to tell the whole world, Eastern Region government paper, that the reason they did this was because they wanted to release Awolowo and make him president. Nobody ever said that. These people cannot make progress because there's no way you are lying like this. It's just a bunch of retards. Like, you can't be saying this thing about Awo, especially when it's a lie. If it's the truth now, we say, okay, what happened? We are sorry. But I say, it is what it is.
And now, who fought the coup? 2 Igbo men, Ojukwu and Agui Ironsi. Now, if they are so desperate, Agui Ironsi would have supported the coup and become president.
Agui Ironsi supported the coup and he became head of state. That's the point. Agui Ironsi was in on the coup, not the queue or nonsense that she said. Agui Ironsi was literally in on it. He knew what was going on. All you have to do is open your eyes and read. Q. Go on, the biography of a soldier statesman by J. Sawo Elagu. Mention exactly what the man said. I'll go on say. Tragedy Without Heroes by Larry Njoku, the first commander of Biafra military. He told us what he said. David Ejo wrote reminiscences. We saw what he did on the morning of January 15. Not going to be talking nonsense. Nigeria's 5 majors were being bullied. We saw how he escaped death. It was planned work. And then you mentioned Ojukwu for the coup. Ojukwu that knew about the coup, that was sitting on the fence, whichever one that works for him, he will just join. Himself, Madebo, Obieno. Obieno was Abeokuta. Obieno was supposed to bring the tank that they were going to use in Lagos. He now changed his mind suddenly. Then 2 days later, he was the one arresting them, and then he was the hero. You guys are not serious.
And possibly kill all the northern high officers. So for you to know, my young lady, you are not well informed.
That's literally what happened. Have in 1966. How many officers did the North have in 1966? They had 5. They lost 4. Leaving only Gowon. So what kind of nonsense is this? Oh, if they really wanted power, they would have killed all the Northern officers. That's literally what you did. You killed all of them. Lagema, Pam, Memalari, Ker Mohammed. Those 4 were killed. Those are the Northerners. 4 out of 5, leaving only Gowon. That's why Gowon was made the head of state in July. Well, in August 1, after the July coup, July counter coup of the North, they said, you know what, it has to be a Northerner. So they chose the most senior Northern officer, the only one that was remaining. And the only reason they did not kill Gowon was because he came back the day before. He literally just arrived from the ship. He was on a ship, arrived with his girlfriend Edith, and then they met the man who was telling them that nobody knows tomorrow. You know what I say? You killed all of them. Yoruba people had 6. You killed Ademulegun and Rapsode Inde, and Ademulegun's wife, 8 months pregnant, killed. The Yoruba officers who were not killed were the people who were not around. The only one who was around was the person who was going everywhere to make sure that everybody supported the Ironsi, Victor Banjo. And what happened to him on Monday? He was running around on the 15th Saturday and 16th Sunday. Oga becomes head of state on the 16th, on a Sunday. By Monday the 17th, he had Victor Banjo arrested. The evil your fathers did, man. The fathers have eaten sour grapes. These children's teeth are set on the edge. And instead of you to find a way to fix it, now lie they lie. That's why you can't be delivered. See, if they really want power, go on with our commander of Biafran army. He said, Ironsi said, but they didn't say they were going to kill anybody. He knew, and he said as soon as he said it, Gowon looked at him, Njoku, and thought that he knew what happened. But Njoku claimed he did not know, but Gowon did not care because he never spoke to him about it anymore. And Gowon told us what he said the night before. What's all these nonsense lies that you're lying all over the place? Then you said, if they really wanted power, they would have killed all the Northern officers. You literally killed 4 out of 5. What's the percentage? 80%. And you became head of state. I don't know what drug they are giving people in the Southeast, but it's affecting their ability to reason or more.
And Agui Ironsi. Now, if they are so desperate, Agui Ironsi would have supported the coup and become president, and possibly kill all the northern
That's what he did.
high officer. So for you to know, my young lady, you are not well informed, and that is why they refuse to teach you history in school, and that is why I'm not angry with you, because
So now this one then teach history. Ignorant person, they tell that person, say the person is ignorant. It's only a Q.
You are saying somebody is ignorant. You are ignorant as well now. You are Q that you are lying to everybody.
With you because you are not informed, because they have built this country on propaganda and lies, and they have fed Hausa youths and Yoruba youths with propaganda and lies that cause the resentment over a tribe, the most peaceful, a tribe that has held this country together, if you ask me. Okay, now after the coup was failed and Aju Ironsi took over, some northern young militaries also did a counter coup and killed Aju Ironsi.
I beg you. Coup was not foiled. The coup was three-pronged. Number one was to have a revolutionary coup. That revolutionary coup was a cover, spearheaded by people like Nzogu and Adewale Ademoyega. They were revolutionaries. The real coup was ethnic. And the reason for that coup was two. They had two plans. Number one was to ensure that Kingsley Mbadiwe became the prime minister. So we would have Igbo president, Igbo Senate president, and Igbo prime minister. Then Igbo GOC, because all of us are Igbo Lawase. And if that did not work, then you had an Igbo head of state. That was the plan, and it worked. So when you hear this thing about he quelled the coup, he didn't quell any coup. He just switched to the next level. It's like you're watching, what's the name of this movie? 24. You watch 24, Abi? How many of you have seen 24? You know 24? Jack Bauer. Once you get to the climax, something else will just happen. Where then they go, they know where then they go. It's not like one ended, another. Everything is part of the plan. And it's a plan that did not start in 66. It's a plan that started in 1944. And this one is saying that people are ignorant. It's actually funny how ignorant people tell others that those ones are ignorant. But let's continue.
Some northern young militaries also did a counter coup and killed Aju Ironsi, and over how many Igbo generals, Igbo soldiers. These informations were killed. The only person we hear they killed is Aju Ironsi. We didn't get to hear the remaining soldiers of Igbo extraction that were killed. These things were buried. Now, after killing Aju Ironsi, which Gowon also helped to plan, and as if
Gowon did not help to plan the counter coup. Kids, this is nonsense. The officers were killed. There were people who were killed. It's true and it's terrible. Over 200 of them. But guess what? It's called a counter coup. It's a retaliation for what happened in January. The one you did in January, you say is Yoruba because you don't have the capacity to bear responsibility. Apparently that's your kryptonite. Then the one they are doing in July as retaliation for what happened in January, you are saying they just killed our people. They did not bury anything. So they buried it. They didn't bury nothing. You don't see over 200 people lost their lives, and it's sad. It's what Yoruba people call king of fear. If you decide to hit a person with a club, if you slap a person and decide to hit you with a club, I mean, next time don't slap people anyhow. I mean, shouldn't have hit you with the club, sharp, but you to use your brain. Why are you slapping people? Because for you, nobody. They used my hand. My hand was not there. It's the tip of my finger that slapped him. I was not the one. That's the spirit that they put inside these clowns. Yakubu one did not plan that coup. He knew about it. But in case, I'm sure a lot of people here know, for 3 days, Nigeria did not have a head of state. July 29 to August 1st, there was no head of state. 1966, Nigeria did not have a head of state. You can go and fact check. You can literally go and fact check. July 29 to August 1, Nigeria had no leader. What was happening in those 3 days? That's the question. They killed, I mean, this is sad, by the way. Nobody deserves to die that way. But let's not act as if By the way, notice what she start doing. She start appealing to your emotions going forward. She has been lying all the while, building it. Now she's getting to the climax. At this point, emotional argument, Lokun, just what you will get to that later. So I said, unfortunately, they killed Ironsi, which is terrible, by the way, and they also killed Fajri. But when they did it, the northern region was not planning to install Gowon. Guess what they were trying to do? They were trying to break up Nigeria. They called their Operation Arab Secession. They wanted to have a Republic of the North. And interestingly, they commandeered 2 aircraft in Lagos to move people from Lagos to Kano. Their wives, their children to Kano. The ones who were on the foot, who were not in a plane, they told them to move to Ilorin. They were going to declare a Republic of the North. What happened between 29th July and 1st August really was that, like, Adekunle Ademola, who was the Attorney General, people like Alhaji Salem, I think that's his name, was the IG of police. This is from Beckon to Serve by Shehu Shagari. Let me go back just a bit. 2 BOAC and Swiss Air VC-10 airliners, which they briefly, that's the coup plotters, they briefly commandeered on 29 July, each made one trip to Kano, conveying families of northern troops. Acting on advice, some few northern civilians, including senior civil servants, also packed their bags up north. But these were probably no more indicative of secessionist intention, any more than they were precautions to ensure it was actually secession. It was trying to shield northerners. They did it, and that's okay. At any rate, the rebels made their future intention apparent by asking Ogundipe on 29 July to surrender control to Gowon. But they did not prevail until the next day, following a number of intercessions, notably by a group of federal permanent secretaries and other public figures. Among the permanent secretaries were Alhaji Musa Dagash, that's the name I was thinking of, Abdulaziz Atta, Mr. H.A. Ejoyiche, Yusuf Gobier, Mr. B.N. Okagwe, Ibrahim Damsida, Alisin A. Aida, and Philip Asiodu. There was also Sadi Demola, the Federal Chief Justice, Alhaji Kam Salem, the Inspector General of Police, Sule Katagum, Chairman Federal Public Service Commission, and Mukhtar Tahir, a senior civil servant and intimate of Murtala Mohammed. By the way, Murtala Mohammed was actually the one who spearheaded that stuff. This Oga Gowon did not plan it with them. Then it says here, from Kaduna came Justice Mohammed Bello, a Northern High Court judge, and Alhaji Ali Akilu, the Chief Secretary to the Northern Group of Provinces and leader of its civil service. Sir Francis Cumming Bruce, the British High Commissioner, and Mr. Herbert Matthews, the United States Ambassador, also subsequently went to Ikeja to press Gowon to maintain the country's integrity. In the end, Gowon's leadership was accepted by the majority of the surviving members of the Supreme Military Council, thanks to informal consultations coordinated by Lieutenant Colonel Ejo, the military governor of the Midwestern Group of Provinces. On 1st August, Gowon accordingly assumed power as head of state and supreme commander. Those were the people that made sure Nigeria did not break between July 29 and August 1, 1966. But you know what you do if you really want to destroy people? You absorb yourself of any responsibility. By the way, if you're people who mess up, I will tell you. If we mess up, this is where we messed up. Why? So that we don't repeat the mistakes. But if you don't take responsibility for anything you ever do in your life, you can never grow. Whether as an individual or as a group, you always have people. By the way, there would not be. I don't make to. It's not a curse. There will never be a lack of agitators in the Southeast. And many of them are going to be violent. And the reason is not because people hate them, it's because they hear people like this. Oh, we did nothing. They hate us. They are doing because once the children hear this thing over, Kanu was not born during the war, neither was I. Kanu didn't know anything about the war. He didn't see it. He definitely hasn't read anything about it because he speaks very ignorantly. But I'm not surprised. Everybody is ignorant. I mean, it is well. Just regurgitate propaganda. The history, na lie. Nobody bothers to study it. everything they say is what Radio Biafra told their fathers in the 60s. And I've said it here before. If you think I'm lying, read the Biafra's leaders, the trial of Biafra's leaders by Nelson Otta. I've read this here before. I don't want to read it tonight. The Radio Biafra people were lying to the people even when they were losing. And the people were busy celebrating. They will hear gunshots, artillery shell. And guess what they will say? They'll be like, those are Biafran scientists trying out their new inventions. Meanwhile, people are trying to bomb their place. But why are they celebrating in the streets? Because Radio Biafra told them that they're just having fun. They're just celebrating. They're testing out things. The people believe the nonsense. The people that will kill them are coming in. And when they die, they don't blame the people who lied to them. They blame those who came in. Otta called it mass hypnosis. How that thing has lasted since 1966 to 20, tomorrow, next year will be 60 years, right? How it has lasted is something that should be studied. Not Elechamadi. Chino Achebe's book, where there was a country, which is also propaganda, by the way. He also used that number, 30,000. Nobody ever went back, but maybe they discovered that 50,000 was too much. And if you think I'm like, I have a document where he mentioned 50,000. The Ayara Declaration is here. The Ayara Declaration is here. The thing they discussed in Aburi is here. Just throwing up figures. When and why does it do that? Because, we're all human beings. If somebody tells you 10,000 people died, 100,000 people died, will you ask how? Most likely no. Okay, see what's happening in the US right now. What are they doing? Oh, can you call number 1,000 people die every day? I saw one this afternoon. I was like, I know it's bad, but dear. Oh, can you call 1,000? Just give you that big number. Because you also feel something like, this one was not that, which is why or how Ojukwu won the propaganda game. Listen, you've been told that, there's propaganda. She has mentioned it, they are raised on propaganda. Igbos were raised on propaganda, 100%. Are there exceptions? Yes, there are. But most likely, those people, their parents will most likely be like Anema amongst Igbos did from 68 to the end of the war, but nobody really celebrates him. Dora Quinley, good people exist everywhere. I acknowledge that. But we read that book together, Nelson Otta's book, The Trial of Biafra's Leaders. Mass hypnosis. Mass hypnosis. Everybody says the same thing. It's as if you're in North Korea. O2, abo, ato, ano, O2, abo, ato, ano, ise, asa. Everybody just say the same thing. By the way, I like to say that I studied Igbo in secondary school. I kind of like the language, by the way. It's the mathematics, the numbering system is the easiest I've come across. Otu, abo, ato, ano, ise, asa, asato, ito, irina, otu, irina, abo, irina, ano, irina, ato, irina. I kind of like it. But, jokes aside, the point is, people have been hypnotized to the point where that hypnosis has now become the history of the people. So young people grow up hearing those things. They feel bad. They feel they are hated. They are not told what really happened. If the South or East would get better, people have to face the truth and stop believing in this rubbish. My battlefield, yes, Ukwabi Asika's enough is actually here. But one of these days we're going to read Ukwabi Asika's speech. I'll tell you something. If I have 10 Igbo people here, when I read Ukwabi Asika's speech in 68, 9.5 let's say 9. We can't divide people. 9 of them will be cursing out Ukwabi Asika. But if you are interested, you'll find it in the book called Crisis and Conflicts in Nigeria by A.H.M. Kagrin, volume 2. Is it? Yeah, I think it's volume 2. Okay, just get it to volume 2. You see it in one of you read that thing, you think it's something that's just talking about. Sincerely, every Igbo person needs to get that document. Please, I beg in the name of God. If you are reading, you think he's telling you about Kanu, and I assure you, if you don't believe what that man said, and you don't take care, you don't care for all those things he's saying, you will not be in short supply of Nnamdi Kanus, because that pain has to be expressed somehow. I'm not saying this because I hate Igbos. Number one, that's even beneath me. Hating people makes no sense. It's a waste of energy. But the point is, young people who are cursing people out and just angry everywhere, they don't know the truth. Truth doesn't keep you in bondage. The Bible says you will know the truth and the truth shall set you free. It may make you miserable because you'll be angry. Like, is this the truth? All of us have been through it. If you study history, most likely it will happen to you. Hear the truth, read stuff, and then get better. Your land is blessed. But let's finish listening to this lady. Now she bring us come here today. Let's listen and be blessed. No, you can't be blessed by her, by the way. She doesn't have the capacity to bless. But let's listen to everything she has to say.
When I mean Igbos, both Midwest and the Southeast were killed. And corpses were transported to the Southeast region with trucks load. And you believe that people that will witness this will still want to be together with you. Put yourself in their shoes.
That's all. I told you she's going to end with emotional blackmail. It's a tested and tried method. You start with deflection, you end with blackmail. Take responsibility for nothing. It's everybody else's fault but yours. Then end with, see what I went through. You have trauma bonding. See all of it now. What if it was you? Would you want to stay in the nation? Go. All this thing about once you are going to leave Nigeria, going to get on the next bus and go. Someone said she didn't talk about Igbos killing others. She cannot. If she mentioned that Igbos killed others, then everything has sort of party here. It's not going to work. She has to be the victim. It's a You see, victimhood in the Southeast, I think I said the other day, is not a product of the Civil War. Victimhood in the Southeast has very little to do with the Civil War. It's a strategy, not the reality. It's a strategy. And it's a strategy that began in the 1940s. And they use it for the British and they use it for Nigeria. They use it to the point where even British were like, wait now, Alpha, Kilo Day. British were like, this was what Arthur Richard said in 1947 January. If he said this in January, that means that people have been doing this since 45 when he got to Nigeria. He said the East contributes the least in terms of revenue, but clamors, these were his own words, clamors for more and more of everything. That clamoring. And if you think we're just saying it, go and read Zeke's speech in 1949. Was literally making Arthur Richard's 1947 point. Oh, we are the victim of everybody. We are the victim of everybody. Once you cry like that, then you'll be like, hey, just take. You are talking, some people think that, it's like some of these people are saying that they are, what's that thing they say in the UK now? Some people are doing it in the UK. Transabled. Have you heard of transabled before? Anybody transabled? After this session, please, you can go online and check. Transgender is about gender. Transabled is about ability. E.g., there's a case of a lady who can see or could see, blinded herself so she could play the part of a blind man, a blind person, and then she called herself disabled. There are people who cut off a limb to show that they are disabled because they want their so people say it's mental illness. It must be. right? Of course, you're going to get the attention and maybe even the benefit of the disabled. There are people who may not even cut off, but act like they are. For instance, there are the ones that act like animals. I saw one last week. I was like, oh my show, act like a dog and then bark all over the place. This is what I see. I think I won't mention anybody. I think some people are acting like disabled people. Why? Because they've noticed the attention that special needs people have or disabled people have, and they want it. See, I look at me now. It's not like all of us are working. Oh, why should I work now? Why should I work now? You're not going to cut off something. My battlefield say I studied the issue in school. I thank God at least somebody else knows this thing. I mean, I know a number of you also. Maybe I'm not writing in the comment section. That attention, nobody's giving it again. And it's not because of hate, it's because of knowledge. Stop whining. Stop being a crybaby. Grow up. And if you have a problem with anything I've said today, that's good. Congratulations. It means it's working. And I've tried, like I always do, to be respectful, even though I've seen a lot of people cursing me out in the comments. I saw you guys, I saw you. Flower, MacDD. I was looking at everything you write in the comment section. I know it's paining you. You know, I would have said you are saying that to your parents, but let's leave your parents out for now because they're also suffering from this illnesses. Let me read something to you from that book. I didn't want to open it before, but now we are here. This is public service work I'm doing now. This is Nelson Otta. Millions of the inmates of Ojuku's monolithic empire, monolith as in their Igbo, inmates as though they're in prison. Millions of the inmates of Ojuku's monolithic empire fed on nothing but the fanfaronade being dished out by Radio Biafra, and so still convinced that, quote-unquote, no force in Black Africa could bring the Biafran empire down, and they were not listening either. The euphoria was too massive to allow either doubt or dissent. And that's why they call, what's his name? Lieutenant Colonel Banjo is a pessimist and coward. So he says here, Lieutenant Colonel Banjo, the pessimist and coward, could go on clocking all over the place like a fuzzy hen. Enugu, listen though, Enugu was still under this propaganda-induced mass hypnosis. That's what I was saying earlier. He called it mass hypnosis. Propaganda-induced mass hypnosis. When the troops of the 2nd Division of the Federal Nigerian Army recaptured Benin from the secessionist troops on 20th September 1967. I'll jump to the part of T.Y. Danjuma. Things were no better for Ojukwu on the Nsukka front. It was in the same month of September that Major T.Y. Danjuma had issued to his troops an order of battle that read, quote-unquote, quote, mission to capture Enugu by 1800 hours on D7, end of quote. When the 1800 hours struck, Major Danjuma and his troops started to advance rapidly towards Enugu. This was in the morning of 12th September 1967. Major Danjuma is still alive. That's still T.Y. Danjuma. Major Danjuma's advance brought him and his troops to such towns between Nsukka and Enugu as Akwebe, in which a young Nigerian intellectual, Major Christopher Okigbo, was killed after his battalion headquarters had been outflanked. Ikolo, Ogbede, Omulungbe, if I'm not pronouncing correctly, I apologize, I'm not Igbo. Ikolo, Ogbede, Omulungbe, and Okpatu. At this time, when Nigerian forces were advancing towards Enugu, at this time, Radio Biafra was still busy announcing the recapture of Nsukka and Okwe. Nobody said they just lose Nsukka. They're about to lose the very place they're sleeping in, the very beds that they're laying their heads on, and they're telling the world, not only are we safe, we don't recapture the place where we don't lose since. It says, at this time, Radio Biafra was still busy announcing the recapture of Nsukka and Okpi. This game of mass deception continued until the advancing federal troops, probably angered by the blatant lie-telling of the Enugu radio station, lumped over 2 artillery shells which fell within a few yards of the broadcasting studio and sent the broadcasters running. This incident took place in the morning of 26 September 1967. Your fathers listen to these clowns who were lying to them from radio. I should not believe you because you are crying over it. So that we can say we are one Nigeria. I respect your parents, but your parents didn't know what happened. They were told what happened, and the people that told them lied to them. And the job of same people is to look for the truth, not to tell people to believe them, even if it's lie. Were marching furiously. Although the mass hypnosis, which was at the time very effective, was still obscuring realities, men and women in the streets were telling themselves and their neighbors that there was no danger. That the artillery shells, which were then exploding with uncomfortable frequency, were new weapon systems being tested by Biafran scientists. In the very face of death, they were still saying, no, that's not the... They're just testing weapons. In the very face of death, they say, the thing where they throw inside Radio Biafra, when make people come out studio, you hear them for street, you see that your Biafra scientists, they try something. Why? Because you were told that there was no problem. This is not the worst of it, by the way. One day, if I have the time, I'm going to read some of the things from Okonkon Ndem, who was working in Radio Biafra at the time, and the rubbish lies he fed your people with. This is public service. I'm doing this sincerely because of young people that use social media. So that maybe one day, if they ever go online if they ever come online to check anything, they will find an alternative to what you are saying, and then they will now be forced to go and check all the books I'm mentioning, and then they will find the truth, and they will heal. And then the region will make progress. Because going by this nonsense, you'll be like this for another generation, because now life will now. So we should believe Radio Biafra because we are all one. No. Now let's go to the emotional part of the lady's argument. Take a listen, please.
Informations were... We didn't get to hear the remaining soldiers of Igbo extraction that were killed. These things were buried. Now, after killing Aju Yuronsi, which Gowon also helped to plan, you can see, so he took over government. And as if that was not enough, they went on rampage on the streets to kill innocent Southeasterners and Midwest. Now, when we talk about Igbo, I hope the rest of Nigerians understand who the Igbos are. The Igbos then, from Nigerian own perception, is the Southeast and Midwest. These are people that were termed Igbo. So, and they were the people that were killed during that genocide. And now we are beginning with what is going on now. We are beginning to know that that genocide wasn't actually genocide. It was actually a continuation of jihad. Because that killing ought not to have happened. And now let me educate you that during that genocide, do you know, my young lady, that
how was it a jihad? Was it genocide? Of course it was. People were killed because of their ethnicities. That's a terrible thing. Crazy stuff. Igbos were killed because they were Igbos. That's, nobody can even, controvert that. But how that thing can become jihad? You go somebody's house, kill him, papa. When they joke, they laugh the person. They tell the person, say, shut up. Now we own this place together. All of you, we don't deal with you. It's in this book. Should I read it? Shinamaganiku say now only Nzogu can bring sense, knock sense into them. Taunt them in their land. It was so bad. Northern Nigerian newspapers were saying, you've got to curb this thing, Igbos, in the north. Away from home, in motor parks, in secretariats. You taunted them for months. January, they didn't do anything, even though the killings of Sodana happened in January. They didn't retaliate. February, they didn't do anything. March, nothing. April, nothing. It was in May that they got angry. And what made that happen? Because of the decree 34 of May 24, 1966, where we centralized everything, including land, including civil service jobs, and said there is no regional civil service anymore. Everybody is now one. Unity, buinani. Give us unitary system, abolish the regional system. Iransi gave us unitary system, not Ojukwu. Iransi gave us unitary system May 24, 1966. However, even Iransi was in on it. Sorry, Iransi did it, but even Ojukwu was in on it. How did I know? Read the book by Ojukwu's Attorney General, Debunking Douglas. He was the one who Ojukwu told him to advise them on the draft decree for a unitary constitution in Nigeria in May of 66. He told him that this thing, people are going to take it easy with you. And he had a conversation with the Solicitor General of the Midwest, Attorney General of the West, of the North. And then they all said that he gave the great advice. Well, a few days later, they promulgated the decree. So here's the point. Did they kill Northerners? Yes. Sorry, did Northerners kill Igbos? Yes. Was it a genocide? Yes. Why? Because it was based on the ethnicities. Based on the ethnicity, and it's bad. Was it a jihad? How? There's something I've noticed, and you see it in the book. You also see it in the book by Bengule, Nigeria's 5 Majors. If people want, okay, I remember what I was going to say earlier. I am not saying that there are no people who want to have jihad, though. I'm not saying that there are no that there's no group of people who want to observe. But there's something I've noticed. Every time the East wants to push an agenda, and they did this in 66, even before this whole thing, and then in 67, after they declared Biafra, they will push the agenda of Islam, of Muslim versus Christians. E.g., even one of their best, what's her name? Chimamanda Adichie, still said it. That the reason for the war was because they were Christians and they were fighting them, and then because of the oil. Number one, he did not own the oil. There was no oil in Igbo land. Number two, it wasn't Christian versus Muslim because the leader of the nation that was fighting you was a Christian. Yakubu Gowon was a Christian. Interestingly, Ojukwu told Debunking Douglas that Yakubu Gowon would not fight because he's a Christian. Where am I getting all these things from? The book written by Debunking Douglas is called Ojukwu's Rebellion and World Opinion. That book, you can get it on Radio Me Global right now on Telegram. It's free. It was published in 1968 in the midst of the war. So don't be say, yesterday. It was not a jihad. That's the point. It had no religion undertone. All they were doing was give you payback for what you did to them in January. And it was terrible and it should not have been done. But don't lie, that it was jihad. There was nothing religious about it. You killed the leaders, they killed yours. Well, the ones they could find. And they were wrong to do that. But it's not because of their religion. And I'm not saying there are no jihadists or Islamic kiniko in Nigeria. But this thing where if they want to get the South or maybe Yoruba people, especially, that's what will make them come to you and tell you, church, take back your country. It's not the one that broke a place that's almost homogeneous. I mean, Anambra State has majority Igbos. Yes, there are Igala there, but there are majority Igbos. He managed to break them into Catholic versus Anglican. You're not telling everybody, church, take back your country. And a Christian Yoruba person who is a believer is saying it is for the Lord. Muslim ticket. Who told you? Oh, those who want to Islamize Nigeria. How many Qurans are they giving to you now? It's Christian versus Muslim. You know, we have a Christian. Read this book, Sheo Shagari. You read what these clowns were telling people all over the world. In Geneva, in Italy. Muslim versus Christian. It's not a religious war. You messed up, they dealt with you, and it was bad on both sides. And may the souls of the departed rest in peace. But they will not even rest because of these lies. The lies not they let them rest. Can we take more of this? Oh boy, it's 7:32. now 5 minutes 54 seconds with this video. I know say ago. I knew I was going to take a while, but man, I didn't know I was going to take this long. Let's continue.
That during that genocide, do you know, my young lady, that pregnant women's stomach were ripped off? They can't even kill the pregnant woman and let the unborn child die peacefully. They rip off the stomach of pregnant women and kill the unborn child and kill the mother. The woman, the pregnant woman with their life, they will use knife. She'll be looking at them. They will use knife and open her stomach. Bring out the unborn child. So the woman will see her unborn child, see her intestines, and then they will kill the child before the mother and then kill the mother. These are the things that were done in your land. They won't tell you this. Do you know that during the genocide, the Islamic extremists will gag the eyes of Igbos out, people out, and give it to them to chew? That happened in this your country. Then after chewing it, they will still kill them. Some of them, their ears were cut off and they were given to them to chew. And after chewing it, and they will be killed. So you know that over 30,000 Igbos were killed in the north. 30,000 Igbos.
Did that happen to people where people caught up and I mean it's terrible. It must have happened. I can't say that's a lie. But I think one of the problems we have in Nigeria is one-sided. What did Chimamanda call it? Single narrative. I want to read something to you. This is from a man called Dr. B.J. Imkeme from Calabar, a retired senior medical officer in the employment of the former Eastern Nigerian government. And this is what he said about what the Igbos that is make. I'll come back to the 30,000 figures later. Let's take one by one. I want to tell you what the Igbos did to them. This is Dr. B.J. Imkeme. It was clear to all right-thinking people that these people, the minorities, wanted to remain within the Federation of Nigeria, but with states of their own. This statement was in 1968. It was clear to all right-thinking people that these people, the minorities, wanted to remain within the Federation of Nigeria, but with states of their own in which they enjoyed the right of self-determination. This did not suit the Igbos of the newly declared Republic of Biafra. And so they were determined either to force the 5 million non-Igbos into their republic or to exterminate them systematically. By the way, the Eastern region had 12.4 million people. 7 million of them were Igbos, 5.4 were minorities. But the minorities had the land, the oil, and access to the sea that the Igbos did not have. Let's continue. In their own state. This is also the Igbos of the newly declared Republic of Biafra, and so they determined either to force the 5 million non-Igbos into their republic or to exterminate them systematically. To this end, Igbo soldiers were quickly sent to all non-Igbo areas with instructions to keep down the people, detain or even kill all who dared raise a voice in protest against the idea of Biafra. The provincial secretary for Calabar, an Igbo man, called a mass meeting in June 1967 and addressed the Calabar people thus, and I quote, "You Calabar people say you want a state of your own. Let me tell you that by the time the federal troops come here to enforce this mad idea, there will be no one left but grass and weeds, for we shall have flattened your land and killed all you Efiks." From then on, the non-Igbos of the eastern region were subjected to torture, detention, all forms of human indignities, and even killing. In Asang, a town in Enyon division, where I come from, and which is just a mile from Okpo, my own village, all the inhabitants, numbering about 400, were carried away to an unknown destination. 2 women, one a relation of mine who had been bedridden for 2 years, were slaughtered in cold blood because the soldiers said it would be a burden to carry them along, and they were under instructions not to leave alive any person in the town. On the way out, a woman gave birth to a babe, Adi, and was groaning in her travail. The soldiers bundled her out of the canoe which was taking them away, shot both mother and the innocent child, only a few minutes old. In Atanonoyo, another town in Enoy division, the whole town was burnt down together with all the people the Igbo soldiers could lay hands on. An uncle of mine was killed together with his wife and 4 or 5 children. 4 of 5 children. The only surviving child is a girl of 10 years, a right arm severed, who now lives to tell the tale of how they were all lined up by the river bank and shot. Luckily for her, she did not die and is being cared for by me now. Please power tap on TikTok. In Ikorekpeyong, 3 miles from my hometown, the Igbo soldiers rang the church bell one Sunday afternoon and forced everybody in the village at gunpoint to assemble in the church building for a special prayer for the survival of the so-called Biafra. When all were assembled, the Igbo soldiers surrounded the church, set it on fire, burning down the villagers and shooting those who tried to escape. It is estimated that more than 300 men, women, and children were massacred in and around that church that day. It's plenty. Did it happen only in this place? It also happened in Rivers, in Degema, in Abonema, in Port Harcourt. So these sob stories where you tell people, oh, they did this to me, they did this to me. I mean, I already acknowledged what they did that was wrong. I said that one before, so it's important to acknowledge that one. But no, don't do these sob stories or see what they did to me. See what you did to people. Oh, they cut a baby out. That was horrible. You keep babies in people's wombs, but you hate the idea of, say, why would you say keep the people also keep people in the wombs? It's not possible. It's a lie. Please read the book by Nebu Graham Douglas. You will see all those things there. Again, go to Telegram channel Redomi Global. You find it in the learning section. What the people in River State went through. Churches, 400 people were packed in the same church and burnt down. Just like here, 300 burnt down with the people inside. Who did it? The saints. We should acknowledge what happened to you, but you are not the sole victim of Nigeria's narrative. You should stop being a perpetual victim. It's irritating. See how she's stacked a lie. It's a pattern. You will start the lie with deflect, and then to come to blackmail, emotional blackmail. So the first bit is, I will never take responsibility. I didn't do it. It's somebody else. I didn't do it. It's somebody else. Oh, see what they did to me. See what they did to me. See what they did to me. Before you know, you two are crying. You think you are compassionate, but no, you are ignorant. By the way, there's a very thin line that, and I want to make sure that I say it. We all must keep our hearts pure. You should be compassionate. Because that's another extreme that this book can push you to, because you get to a point, you read some of these things, I've even read up to 1/10. You read some of these things, and your heart could be stiffened or hardened. But don't be like that. Show compassion. For the evil that happened to people, show compassion. This is wrong. It shouldn't have happened. Acknowledge what happened that was wrong. Acknowledge it. But don't be naive. Don't be blackmailed. That thin line is, and there's a thin line between empathy and stupidity. Like, I'm empathetic towards you, but if you weaponize that against me, I begin to follow you like Mumu, which is what Nigerians have been doing for the past many years. The line between those two things is knowledge. You will remain empathetic because you are a human being and you have blood coursing through your veins. Somebody says people died. You won't say it's a lie. It doesn't really matter. Of course it matters. People died. It matters. But don't use that to blackmail me. I don't owe you anything. Don't say because somebody did something to you, I should come and do something. I don't owe you jack. In terms of, you know, the point where you'll be told, what belongs to you, give it to me because I went through something. No, I don't owe you that thing. I owe you respect. I owe you love, which is more than you can give. Clearly, you can't even tolerate. You're always hating on everybody. But I will still love you because I cannot allow you to stay my white garment. By the way, I even think it's, once you allow your heart to become hardened towards people like this, when you see people who are really soft, but be knowledgeable. Some people blackmail you and gaslight you with nonsense. Oh, see what we did. See what happened to me. See what you did. And by the way, it's not today's topic. I've read plenty, but not be today. Then, the other thing she mentioned, that one, I'm going to stay on it for a bit. She said over 30,000 people died in the north. Let me start by saying this before I even go into that part. The folks who died in the north, how did they die? Again, to be very clear, I do not think death is something to celebrate. One person dying is one too many. So this is not about let's compare person will die. I'm not here to say it doesn't really matter because just one person that died. Excuse me. So I'm not saying, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it matters. But how? Then we'll go to the numbers. So this is how they died. January, there was a coup. January 15 was an Igbo coup. With all these plenty points. If you don't get all this, please watch all our videos. You'll see them there. It was an Igbo coup. If you like, cry. That's your business. People thought it was revolutionary until they discovered that, wait, everybody will die. No Igbo die. They were like, okay, wait, these people are lying. No. But I said, oh, na Igbo come, na Igbo coup. Then the Igbos were like, oh, yes, well, are cool. We like it like that. We had the Oga. Then they celebrated for 4 months. But I say people don't get foresight. So it was an Igbo coup. People died. In July, there was a counter coup to retaliate what happened in January. I don't agree with either. Nobody should be killed for anything. They had a counter coup in July. Into August, there was a counter coup, which was bad. And it was a northern counter coup. But here's the crazy part. It was horrible. The Igbos had killed about 24 people in January. These guys killed over 200 in July. It was terrible. But here's where the problem is. People were moving back to the east because of what happened in the north. So they went back home with tales of the killings and all those terrible things. And of course, they had the right to share their story. But here's the crazy part. The folks in the east began to kill northerners. Nobody tells you these things in Nigeria history, especially these ones that we shouting, they did this to us, they did to us. They killed the northerners in the east. Not one, not two, not 100, not 200, not 300, not 500, not 1,000. They were in the thousands. I recommend 2 books. 3. Crisis and Conflicts in Nigeria by A.H.M. Green. The Nigerian Civil War by John de St. John. And Sunset in Biafra by Leche Amadi. They stopped a train filled with northerners who were trying to escape. There were about 2,000 people, according to some reports. All the men in that train were killed and thrown in the Imo River. All. The women eventually found their way to Benue State, Ziotukpo Medical Center in Benue, Makodi, or Tukpo, one of those towns. It's in the book, Crisis and Conflict in Nigeria by H.M. Green. Now, they keep people in Port Harcourt. You see it in Leche Amadi's book, Sunset in Biafra, in different places. Now, people saw what happened. Some foreigners were there. That Obola, for instance. They, according to some reports, took that thing with them. Somehow, that report found its way to Radio Cotonou in Benin Republic. People received the signal in Kaduna. Guess what they did? They decided to broadcast that event of northerners being killed in the east in English and Hausa. This was in August. The Hausa people then heard what happened. Their own people were also returning. They were killed. I mean, I don't want to open that because of time. We spent a lot of time already, but there's a video on it on the YouTube channel. How northerners were killed in the east. They killed more than, different parts. They keep people and loaded them on trains. The news got to Cotonou, like I said, Radio Cotonou, broadcast on Radio Kaduna in English and Hausa, the Northerners, the Hausas heard the news. They went on rampage, began to murder Igbos. Is it good? Of course not. Of course not. What is what happened in history? They began to kill Igbos. By the time the dust settled, the Eastern region published a document, October 1966. In that document, the pamphlet is called Pogrom, which is not true. It wasn't a pogrom. It was a massacre. It was terrible. But you can't call it a pogrom. But that's what they called it. They call it a pogrom. And in that document, the Eastern region government said that between 7,000 and 8,000 people died in the what they call pogrom. Again, I don't mention numbers to discount the experience of people. Even if one person died, that would be one too many. However, we should speak to people who are always lying about numbers, just inflating numbers. There's something that John Descent just said in his book, The Nigerian Civil War. He said Ojukwu played an irresponsible numbers game. That's what this woman just did. And that's what a lot of people do from the Southeast. I'm quoting him verbatim. Ojukwu played an irresponsible numbers game. What did John the St. John mean? You published a document in October that between 7,000 and 8,000 people died. Terrible. Bad. January 4 and 5 in Ghana. There was a conference in Ghana, January 4 and 5. Ojukwu got there and said to them, 10,000 people died. We were like, well, 7,000 to 8,000 in October. Now he says 10,000 in January. It's okay to round it up. It's okay. Sorry, it's bad. You have to make sure it doesn't happen again. May of 1967, Ojukwu said there were 30,000. It's not like they kept dying. No, they don't die. I mean, well, the case was over. I don't want to say don't die finish, but the case was already done. 7 to 8,000 in October. This is from the Eastern region. No? January became 10,000 people died. It's bad. But like 7,000, 8,000, 10,000, it's about the same thing. It's terrible. By May of 67, Ojukwu said 30,000 people died. By the time he had the Hahira declaration in 69, guess what Ojukwu said? He said 50,000 people died in 66. That's the thing is, if you notice, the numbers have changed 4 times. I mean, he has given 4 numbers, so the numbers have changed 3 times. 7 to 8,000, 10,000, 30,000, 50,000. If you read the books by, what's this man's name? Frederick Forsyth, Biafran Story, he used the 30,000 number, 30,000 figure. If you read not Elechamadi, Chino Achebe's book, where there was a country, which is also propaganda, by the way, he also used that number, 30,000. Nobody ever went back, but maybe they discovered that 50,000 was too much. And if you think I'm like, I have a document where he mentioned 50,000. The Ayara Declaration is here. The Ayara Declaration is here. The thing they discussed in Aburi is here. Just throwing up figures. When and why does it do that? Because, I mean, we're all human beings. Who died? Will you ask how? Most likely no. Okay. See what's happening in the US right now. What are they doing? Oh, can you call number 1,000 people die every day? I saw one this afternoon. I was like, I know it's bad, but dear. Oh, can you call 1,000? Just give you that big number. Because you also feel something like, this one was not die. Which is why or how Ojukwu won the propaganda game. Listen. You've been told that, there's propaganda. She has mentioned it. They are raised on propaganda. Igbos were raised on propaganda. 100%. Are there exceptions? Yes. There are. But most likely, those people, their parents will most likely be like anathema amongst Igbos. E.g., Ukwabi Asika. He is so hated in Igbo land today. Meanwhile, he's the reason that they are okay because of what he did from 68 to the end of the war. But nobody really celebrates him. Dora Quinley, good people exist everywhere. I acknowledge that. But we read that book together, Nelson Ota's book, The Trial of Biafra's Leaders. Mass hypnosis. Mass hypnosis. Everybody says the same thing. It's as if you're in North Korea. Otu, abo, ato, ano, otu, abo, ato, ano, isi, asa. Everybody just say the same thing. By the way, I like to say that I studied Igbo in secondary school. I kind of like the language, by the way. It's the mathematics, the numbering system is the easiest I've come across. Otu, abo, ato, ano, isi, asa, asato, ito, iri na otu, iri na abo, iri na ano, iri na ato, iri na. I kind of like it. But I mean, jokes aside, the point is people have been hypnotized to the point where that hypnosis has now become the history of the people. So young people grow up hearing those things. They feel bad. They think they are hated. They are not told what really happened. If the Southeast would get better, people have to face the truth and stop believing in this rubbish. My battlefield, yes, Ukwabi Asika's enough is actually here. But one of these days we're going to read Ukwabi Asika's speech. I'll tell you something. If I have 10 Igbo people here, when I read Ukwabi Asika's speech in 68, 9.5 of, no, let's say 9. We can't divide people. 9 of them will be cursing out Ukwabi Asika. But if you are interested, you'll find it in the book called Crisis and Conflicts in Nigeria by A.H.M. Green, volume 2. Is it? Yeah, I think it's volume 2. Okay, just get the 2 volumes. You see it in one of them. Enough is Enough by Ukwabi Asika. You read that thing, you think it's something that is just talking about. Sincerely, every book person needs to get that document. Please, I beg in the name of God. If you are reading, you think it's telling you about Kano, and I assure you, if you don't believe what that man said, and you don't take care, you don't care for all those things he's saying, you will not be in short supply of Nnamdi Kanu's, because that pain has to be expressed somehow. I'm not saying this because I hate Igbos. Number one, that's even beneath me. Hating people makes no sense. It's a waste of energy. But the point is, young people who are cursing people out and just angry everywhere, they don't know the truth. Truth doesn't keep you in bondage. The Bible says you will know the truth and the truth shall set you free. It may make you miserable because you'll be most likely to happen to you. Hear the truth, read stuff, and then get better. Your land is blessed. But let's finish listening to this lady. Now she bring us come here today. Let's listen and be blessed. No, you can't be blessed by her, by the way. She doesn't have the capacity to bless. But let's listen to everything she has to say.
When I mean Igbos, both Midwest and the Southeast were killed. And corpses were transported to the Southeast region with trucks load. And you believe that people that will witness this will still want to be together with you. Put yourself in their shoes.
That's all. I told you she's going to end with emotional blackmail. It's a tested and tried method. You start with deflection, you end with blackmail. Take responsibility for nothing. It's everybody else's fault but yours. Then end with, see what I went through. You have trauma bonding. See all of it now. What if it was you? Would you want to stay in the nation? Go. All this thing about we're going to leave Nigeria, going to get on the next bus and go. Someone said she didn't talk about Igbos killing others. She cannot. If she mentioned that Igbos killed others, then everything has sort of here. It's not going to work. She has to be the victim. It's a You see, victimhood in the Southeast, I think I said the other day, is not a product of the Civil War. Victimhood in the Southeast has very little to do with the civil war. It's a strategy, not the reality. It's a strategy. And it's a strategy that began in the 1940s. And they use it for the British and they use it for Nigeria. They use it to the point where even British were like, wait now, Alpha, Kilo Day. British were like, this was what Arthur Richards said in 1947 January. If he said this in January, that means that people have been doing this since 45 when he got to Nigeria. He said the East contributes the least in terms of revenue, but clamors, these are his own words, clamors for more and more of everything. That clamoring. And if you think we're just saying it, go and read Zeke's speech in 1949. Was this really making Arthur Richards' 1947 point? Oh, we are the victim of everybody. We are the victim of everybody. Once you cry like that, then you'll be like, hey, just take. You are talking, with all due respect to special needs children, I think some people think that, it's like some of these people that are saying that they are, what's that thing they say in the UK now? Some people are doing it in the UK. Transabled. Have you heard of transabled before? Anybody transabled? After this session, please, you can go online and check. Transgender is about gender. Transabled is about ability. E.g., there's a case of a lady who can see or could see, blinded herself so she could play the part of a blind man, a blind person, and then she called herself disabled. There are people who cut off a limb to show that they are disabled because they want their so people say it's mental illness, it must be, right? Of course, you're going to get the attention and maybe even the benefit of the disabled. There are people who may not even cut off, but act like they are. For instance, there are the ones that act like animals. I saw one last week. I was like, oh my show. Act like this is what I see. I think I won't mention anybody. I think some people are acting like transabled people. Why? Because they've noticed the attention that special needs people have or disabled people have, and they want it. See, I look at me now. It's not like all of us are working. Oh, why should I work now? Why should I work now? You're not going to cut off something. My battlefield say I studied the issue in school. I thank God at least somebody else knows this thing. I mean, I know a number of you also. Maybe you're not writing in the comment section. That attention, nobody's giving it again. And it's not because of hate, it's because of knowledge. Stop whining. Stop being a crybaby. Grow up. And if you have a problem with anything I've said today, that's good. Congratulations. It means it's working. And I've tried, like I always do, to be respectful, even though I've seen a lot of people cursing me out in the comments. I saw you guys, I saw you. Flower, Mark Didi. I was looking at everything I write in the comments for now because they're also suffering from this hypnosis. So it's okay. It's okay. But please grow up. May God bless you. May God bless your region. And this lady who just spoke nonsense, may God give her grace. Because she doesn't understand nothing. And she's not ignorant. She's hypnotized. Even the ones in the comment section, hypnotized. Just curse me. Like, that's your business. Someone says the psychiatric version is called body integrity dysphoria or body integrity identity disorder. I will mention one in the 60s. We called it projection. It's a mental issue. They're always projecting. And I've said several times, as far as the guys in the South are concerned, every accusation is a confession. They are telling you who they are. You're a propagandist, that's who he is. You're a bigot, that's who he is. You hate me, that's who he is. That's what he does. Every accusation is a confession. And then we'll say that to the point where we'll now begin to appeal to your emotions in order to take advantage of you. It's a tried and tested thing that should stop working in Nigeria going forward. All right, I'm going to read some of the responses on YouTube, but let me just bring some people up. One person will speak, and I'll read some responses, and they'll go on like that, and they will have everybody contribute. Thank you very much for listening to this very long response to the video. God bless you. All right, thank you very much for being here. We've been listening to when a woman from the Southeast tries to rewrite history, and then we also call it debunking the Igbo propaganda about Nigeria's history. There is a lot more to say, a lot more to debunk essentially, and hopefully when we have these sessions we'll be able to get into some of those things. I'm just going to read some of the things we have in the comment section, and I'll bring maybe 2 or 3 people up because of time. It was a very long video, so Alimali but I'm just going to first read some things in the comment section. Like clockwork, people have been there all the while cursing me out on YouTube. You guys, man, you are not very smart, are you? I'm not going to read those ones. And I also see some people insulting them as well. These people are not redeemable politically. Let's just leave that one. Someone asked, how can we help them to break free from this cycle? They truly need help, and their case has become cyclical. Without help from outsiders, they may never be able to liberate themselves. And then that was your mites, right? And you might and Michael Okolanwo say, we will remember them in our prayers, that their inner eyes of understanding be enlightened. That's Ephesians 1 verse 18, I think. Yeah. That the eyes of your understanding may be enlightened, that you may know what is the hope of his calling. People need that, to be honest, right? And I think maybe when we have this, we'll be having prayers on Sunday mornings, very early, 6 a.m. Maybe one of those times we just be praying for Igbos as well. Because the thing is, so it says, we'll remember them in our prayers, that their eyes of understanding be enlightened, but we'll never fall for their cheap tricks and lies. I agree 100% with that. Yeah, we can pray for people, we can even be compassionate towards them, but that doesn't mean you should change your story to make, and that's what has happened, and that's what people actually say every time. You've got to make me feel comfortable. Oh, you lost. You lost, but you want other people to make you feel comfortable by changing their own story so that you become, the person who has to be pandered to, no matter how you tell the story. So when you're talking about the what happened from the Nigerian angle, they are the victims. What happened from the Eastern minorities angle, they are the victims. What happened in the Midwest, they are the victims. What happened in the Western region when they're trying to invade, they are the victims. What happened in North, you are the victim in every story. That's a lie. An aggressor killed a lot of people. This woman that was talking about how people were killed, I mean, like I said in the video, it's terrible, right? When you talk about people being killed or people dying, it's terrible. However, they will not mention to you that there's something called Win the War Myth. It's in that book I mentioned in the video. The book is called Ojuku's Rebellion and the World Opinion, written by Dr. Nebogram Douglas. And you'll find that book on our Telegram channel, Redomi Global. So if you join Redomi Global now, you'll be able to access it. Just go on Telegram, go to Redomi Global, REDOMI Global, right? And the book is very important because the person who wrote the book was the Attorney General to Ojukwu, right? And he also suffered from these people because he was from Rivers area. These guys were serving human meat. Igbos. The things that happened before that war. Read My Command by Olusegun Obasanjo. How certain Igbos that were working as farm hands in Ondo State, present-day Ondo State, working as farm hands in the farms, were sending information to Biafran forces to help them invade Western region. It's in the book by Olusegun Obasanjo, My Command. And I think we should be having we're going to be having conversations on these things. Again, not to say some people should be demonized or anything, just that it's important to actually understand things from all sides, right? And then when you do, like I said, you can be compassionate towards the people who suffered, but then you become difficult to be blackmailed. You don't fall for cheap tricks. Like, oh, see what they did to me. Like, I don't want to hear it. Because I've heard it for more than 60 years. Before I was born, so they talk. So I woke up hearing the rubbish. The rubbish is not the pain that you suffer. The rubbish is the victimhood and the propaganda that you want to force on everybody's throat. And anybody who speaks against it is a bigot. You are not thinking straight if you think like that. Folks were what were you looking for in the Midwest? What were you looking for in Western region? Why did Victor Banjo, why was he killed? Why did Ojukwu kill him? We're going to come back to that story one of these days. We've done it once. We'll do it again. And there's something I want to do with that story. We talked about it last year. It's important that people actually know what happened. Like I said, the people who attack me, Igbos that attack me, to be honest, the reason is because their identity is based on victimhood. And to tell the truth is to strip them of their essence. That's why they're angry. And guess what? Kokaye. As long as we can do it respectfully and we're sharing the truth and we're very, and to be honest, let me tell you something. I should say it today. I'm very cautious and courteous when I'm talking. If you read some of these things, you may, let me tell you something. If most people discover what really happened, I'm not sure they're going to give as much grace to Igbo people. Maybe it's my Christianity. It's also funny that many of Igbos are Christians, but they cannot stop being liars and propagandists. And it doesn't matter how high they climb the ladder of their whatever career. Again, there are exceptions, but exceptions don't change the fact that there's a rule. Everybody sounds alike. You go to church, you pray, but you want to manipulate people with lies and propaganda. And anybody that says the truth is a liar. You are not thinking. So it's important that we study these things. We know what happened. Show grace, be courteous. Hopefully, I hope that people actually are respectful when we share these things. But the most important thing is that we know what happened so that you can show compassion intelligently, or else your empathy will be weaponized, just as it has been weaponized all these years. I'll read a few more things. Excuse me, please. Ibo Jonadu says, Ibo Jonadu, good to see you. Otojo Meta. He writes in the comment section that yet they continue to behave so disgracefully. I think it's really about how people were raised. So I'm also Yoruba, so maybe that comes to the territory. Some people are not properly raised. Because if not, why would you get on here? And I've been seeing it. So it's even there right now. It's there. It's also it's everywhere. Facebook or Ekpe. And the thing is, entobade so komoluwe ojoko ni eroko nja. Okutaba so lokpe. Ọ̀pẹ náà máa sọ padà, ó máa sọ padà sẹ́ni ẹ lórí ni. So no matter all the curses and whatever, it doesn't really do me anything. Come on, for you, and to understand, you will understand later. If you don't get it, forget about it. Okay, let me read some things here. So yeah, I read about the prayer thing. I think it's actually important. Seriously, it's important to pray for people, whether they like you. Even Jesus says you should pray for your enemies, and I don't even think Igbos are enemies. I just think that many of them don't think straight, and the reason primarily is because they were raised on lies. And I've said it. I've listened to professors, Igbos, spreading propaganda, doctors. Some of them work at the highest levels in the world, dedicated to propaganda as though that's what their life depends on. It's crazy, but it's what it is. A few more things here. Akadol says, excuse me, please. Thank you. Akadol says they are irredeemable. Oh God. No, Akadol says they love the lies, they hate the truth, they don't want to change. I think there are Igbos who want to change. I think the question is how many of them are able to actually influence the rest of the people. And again, to be honest, these things are not coming from a place of hate. I don't know how else to say it. It has nothing to do with hate. The point is the way see, if your nonsense is restricted to your space, it's not my business. Alone, I don't care. But once you carry Sarah Koja Mosalashi and you begin to say things about how did this, Nigeria did this, we didn't do anything, they did this to us, you have made the matter about us. So now we have to speak. Not to lie like you, just to set the record straight. But here's the real issue. If you continue with the propaganda and telling lies and becoming the victim of every narrative, what's going to really happen? And I hope people actually listen to me sincerely. I hope you can see my heart. If you continue like this, you will suffer for it already, because and you're going to suffer for it primarily because of what your fathers did. Your children will suffer more. Because whatever you're going through right now, I can assure you under God, based on everything that is in the history books, I can tell you for a fact Nigeria tried. I think Nigeria did more than any nation could have done in that circumstance. Nigeria tried. Your people, your fathers tried. And I keep mentioning this because we are easily, what's the word now? Because we have a lot of people that are Igbos around us, it's easy for them to blackmail us. And you have your people apologizing for what your fathers did not even do. If you're a Yoruba person, you have no reason to apologize. You have no reason to cower. You have no reason to tiptoe. Your fathers tried. What your fathers did, their fathers could never in 1,000 years. And I'm not being frivolous with that statement. It's a fact. We have churches, individuals, state governments across Nigeria, but particularly in Western regions, sending medicine and food and clothes to folks in Igbo land. The clowns come around and begin to insult you and say, see what Awolowo did. Anybody that mentions Awolowo like that and is negative, you will suffer. The suffering I'm not cursing you. You will suffer because you don't understand the heart of gratitude. You can never get another person to help you, not the way he did. Yorùbá ní ìní kẹ́ni ṣe mí. ẹni tó bá dúpẹ́ orí àná bí ọlọ́ṣà kó ẹni tá a ṣe lóore tí ó dúpẹ́ ó dàbí ẹni ọlọ́ṣà àbí bí ìgbà tí ọlọ́ṣà kóyàn lẹ́rù lọ ni. The mindset of a thief, it's a mindset of entitlement. When everybody that did something for you, you assume that you have a right to whatever they did to you. You cannot make progress like that. And it's not even about Igbo or anything. Just a law of nature. It's crazy. Any small thing, see what Awo did. What did Awo do? He fed people who he had no responsibility to Igbos. He was feeding them. Why should he even be feeding them in the first place? And you guys should not read books. You just listen to Uche Chukwumerije and believe the Kokon in them. I believe the Juku is the same thing. And that's why I said the seed is, the harvest is going to be terrible. Because I'm seeing young people, children, who are talking like, I see what they did to me. I'm like, how did you come about this story? And they are saying with so much, fervor, and they're so serious about it, and they are seriously talking rubbish. I hope things get better. And to be honest, this sincerely, I have these sessions primarily because I need Yoruba to be for all of us to understand what happened, especially Yoruba people, then all of Nigeria, and hopefully somehow, if it helps people to heal, then it works. I mean, that would be nice. If you think this is hate, it's because you are used, disturbing the peace. God bless everybody. Let's read a few more things before we go. Olagoju Emmanuel. Mr. Olagoju, good to see you, sir. It says, Igbos are never going to be happy in Nigeria. The love, the hatred they are spewing out. I think they can be happy. And like I always say, I meet good ones as well. But they're not loved by their people, because to say I'm not a victim as an able person is to deny the faith, literally. So, but they are good people, right, who I think also have a right to peace and happiness. So I hope that more of them will rise, and we'll teach the people what really happened. And it will be painful. Let me just say it now. If you learn these things and you read these things, you're from the Southeast, it will pain you. Me, I'm not even from the Southeast, I'm Yoruba. It pains me, and I'll tell you why. I think I mentioned it yesterday. You know how you read books and you discover something, you're like, what? How be this? No, you start by saying, how come they didn't teach me? So you start with your parents, they didn't teach you. Then you think of your teachers in school, they didn't teach you. So all this time I spent studying, how come I didn't know these things? You're going to feel bad. When you are done blaming all of them, you are blaming others, you then begin to blame the thing. Most likely by the time you're done, if your approach is right, you will now feel grateful that you at least know it now. But you're going to leave that place feeling more ignorant, because you now know that this one, I'm just discovering this thing now. It means that there are many other things I don't know, which means, oh boy, I'm ignorant. Meanwhile, now you know more than you knew, but you now know that there is more that you don't know. And I think that's the approach of people who actually study. You see, the clowns that go around just insulting people and shouting. The only thing they've read in their life is invoice. So let's do better. Let's study. Let's understand what happened and show, give grace and all the good stuff. But yeah, to respond to you, I think Igbos can be happy. I think it's good for them to be happy. I just don't know. It's only God that can do it. Let me just put it that way. Mr. John Vaughn says, thanks for giving us the truth. Thank you very much. Debayo Barua says, you're truly shaping mindsets as of people. Thank you very much. The says, anyone to the link or name of the WhatsApp channel mentioned? It's not WhatsApp, actually, it's Telegram. It's a Telegram channel. And I typed it in the comment section. You can, scroll, you find it there. Redomi Global. REDOMI Global on Telegram. Please go there. Books, that's Redomi Books. It's on Telegram as well. Thank you very much. Your mind says, thanks for Bishop Ajayi Crowther for that numbering system. Lila says, you go there for Igbo's matter. Please move on. No, nobody's going to move on from your matter. You guys are retards. You cannot spend your lifetime insulting an entire group of people because we have a president and tell me to move on. You are stupid. I've been seeing it all the while. I didn't say it. You don't type it again. You insult people, you now tell them to move on. Something is wrong with some of you clowns. And we said it, I always refer to what I said in 2022. This man is going to win the next elections. But when he wins, don't do with your Bible. Don't do to your Bible what you did to the Hausa or to the Fulani. We are not going to take it. We read books because we don't want them to be unhappy. But Teruba koja ye ama so ama jekeru moeru ama jekeru more kiwo fa more. Omo lele de la to poju ni to ba gbon sórí ẹni o ma yi sílẹ̀ le na ni. It's important to actually make some things clear. Don't tell people to stop talking as long as you are still spewing your stupidity. Stop that nonsense. Rubbish. Me tell down. I've been seeing the nonsense they've been writing since I didn't say anything. I just saw that one, just like out there, you will go somewhere, change people's history, change the story. You are the victim. See what they did to me. See what they did to me. You are bad, and I come to and then to make matters worse, they must mention Awo. Listen, I think if anybody wants to trigger me, just mention Awo. And I will not curse you out by saying your father, your mother, all those childish stuff. I will bring out books to show how stupid your elders were. You have elders who stole your money as a region. Official account say it's 77,000 pounds. Guess what? There's another account. I just want you to mention that one because they gave it a range. So for the most official reports, they stayed with the lower range. 877,000. It was actually between 877,000 pounds and 2 million pounds that Zikiwe stole from the Eastern Region Marketing Board. You have no problem with that. Is our Lord that did not owe your fathers anything that you be insulting, and then you now have the audacity to say move on. Something is wrong with you. No, the man is going to be president. This Tinubu, by the grace of God, he will be president in 2031. So you will cry for 5 more years, and you will be taught for 5 more years. Hopefully, by the time you are done, you graduate, and then you'll be better. But don't tell people to move on after insulting them, and you have not even stopped insulting them and changing their history. What kind of rubbish is that? And Nigeria is now we call some. Don't be like, oh, everybody, we are good people, great nation. A person, somebody is retarded. They are saying he's just gentle. And they come take him to hospital and treat him. This clown that wrote this one. And I understand now why Buhari said what he said when he said that, psychiatric centers are going to be established in the Southeast. He knew what he was talking about. And it wasn't even an insult. There is no way you're going to be subjected to the propaganda from Biafra, from Radio Biafra, and you don't need psychiatric help. It is not an insult. But it was actually being a good man. I just don't know, everybody turned it around to something else. People are under a spell. Let's move away from the clown. Let's read the other things. Your mind says the victim that transfers the Nigerian shores to places like Cameroon, Ghana, South Africa, UAE, India, China, and so on. Well, now I even heard now that they said it was Yoruba people that went to do, broadcast stuff in South Africa. You know how I was listening to that man. That man could not be less than 60. I was like, how do fools grow old? How? I don't want to mention the man's name, but he is the question I asked. I don't want to call him whatever. I just felt like, how do fools grow old? It's like they didn't trip, they didn't fall. Like somehow they grew old. Like how did they happen? God is a faithful God. Make all of us grow old in Jesus' name. But because how can you be that old? And they're telling you what your people did in South Africa. You're like, it was your people that went to tell the world. Your people actually did it and change the story. It's unbelievable. So yeah, let them keep going abroad. It is well with them. Michael Okola on Komala says, true, these people were let's move away from this your boy is big go. Oh, he's quoting the book I mentioned. I see it now. He's quoting Ojuku's Rebellion and World Opinion by Graham Douglas. And maybe I just read it. Yeah, it says here. It says, true, these people were part of a tyrannical system which was preoccupied with the suppression of colonial revolt. But what in 1968 must evoke by the way, the book was published in 1968 in the midst of the war. Okay? It says, but what in 1968 must evoke in every Nigerian and indeed every African a sense of profound shame is the pride with which the ordinary Igbo man walked into an eating house or restaurant in Port Harcourt and asked for win the war meat. That is the flesh of a slaughtered rivers person or Southeasterner. Sorry, the flesh of a slaughtered rivers person. The Southeasterner with equal pride with which the eating house offered him his other delicacy. Will I say you also mix things up, but at least you got it to the point where they said they served the body of a rivers man. The flesh of a slaughtered rivers person. Or Southeasterner. Yes, okay, you are right. I'm the one who was misinterpreting. Southeasterner here is not Igbo. Is Akwa Ibom and Cross River. Oh, you are right. No, I'm going to read everything again, then I'll explain. I was trying to understand what you wrote, but I'm going to read everything again, then I'm going to explain. What in 1968 must evoke in every Nigerian and indeed every African a sense of profound shame is the pride with which the ordinary Igbo man walks into an eating house or low-class restaurant in Port Harcourt and asks for win the war meat. That is, the flesh of a slaughtered rivers person or southeasterner, and the equal pride with which the eating house owner offered him his ordered delicacy. I could well understand the indignation of one of my guards, an EBBO police corporal, during my detention when he refused to take his lunch one day because he had discovered in the soup what was unmistakably a human ear and pieces of meat of a kind that was not readily identifiable. He was the leader of the guard, so the others followed suit. When you see Southeastern in any book before 1970, any book before the 1990s, any book before 1996, let me put it that way, any book before 1996, if you see the word or the phrase Southeasterner, he's not talking about Igbo people. He's talking about the Southeast state. So May 27, 1967, Yakubu Gowon divided the old Eastern region into three. There was the Rivers state, where you have the Rivers province, so present-day Rivers and Bayelsa state. There was the East Central state, which is present-day Abia, Anambra, Enugu, Imo, and Ebonyi. Then there was the Southeastern state, which is today Akwa Ibom and Cross River state. So we're saying here that when the war meat actually is the flesh of the slaughtered Rivers person or somebody from Akwa Ibom and Cross River. So Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Rivers, Bayelsa, they will slaughter them and sell the food, the meat, as the delicacy in the restaurant. That's the person who is crying to the world that the world did something wrong to them. Joseph Esemeka, this clown finally found a way to my video, my live video. I always see how you consider yourself as a nuisance. And you're an elder to your family, because here you are like a baby. But let me read what you wrote here. It says, as you are digging old wounds of Nigeria history, which your Papa Awo and Akintola started in the Western region, fella, you will surely harvest your evil seed. You are a stupid old man. And you are one of the people I was talking about earlier when I said, how do fools grow old? Your fathers started planning to perpetually rule Nigeria in 1944. About how Nigeria should be governed. Awo got to the UK that same year, 44. By 45, he finished writing the book. By 47, he published the book Path to Nigerian Freedom. In that book, he gave us the blueprint of how Nigeria should be constituted. We still haven't followed that stuff until today. While he was doing that, your fathers, were planning how to perpetually rule Nigeria in 1944. In 1945, another one of your fathers, was saying that the domination of Nigeria by the Igbo was only a question of how did you grow old and you are this stupid? Say your Papa Awo and Akintola. How can you be showing your Papa Awo and you are supposed to be elderly? Your age does not come with wisdom. Doesn't come with your own age, or you grew old. You have not grown up. Very stupid. Your fathers were causing wala all over the place. We're even trying to respectfully have conversations. What these clowns want is for people to be quiet. You will do rubbish. You will lie about it. But you must be the only voice. Nobody must counter you because what? Say my father. If you had anybody like my father in your lineage, in your entire generation, if you are my fathers, they are one that you mentioned, you will not be the way you are, just roaming the earth around like a vagabond. Absolute rubbish. And I'm glad people have responded to him in the comment section. I don't know how people just grow old without sense. And they call it digging old wounds. The wound has not healed because your people, your fathers and yourself and your children have refused to actually face the truth of what happened. How are you going to heal the wounds when you're not even going to acknowledge what happened? You're blaming everybody else for what Ojukwu did. I'm supposed to be old. How did you get Jesus is Lord? It is well with your children, because you can't raise your kids like this. You just have some of these people, they are positioned by Satan himself. But I'll send you to your master. Oh no. What I mean by that is that you're not a very smart person, you are dumb. Joseph Ezemeka, I hope that's enough for you and your fathers. God bless you. Let's go on. Fiery, thank you for the response on Facebook. You needed it. Very stupid human being. Akadao says, Jesus of Nigeria says Abacha is more democratic than Adeko. I saw the rubbish that Peter Obi wrote. I'll talk about it on Monday. That one that was talking to Abacha. They clowned the video and said that during Adeko, there was people that suffered the most. The man is a liar. But not today. I will play the video so you hear what he says before I'll play what he said before I respond. It's just crazy how these human beings are. That's their savior. That's supposed to be a 60-something-year-old person. He's saying that Igbo suffer the most. He's saying that this, the claims that this guy is, Peter Obi said, and I will play that video on Monday. He said that during the struggle, right, for democracy in 1993, that Igbo suffered more, and that during the election, despite the fact that Tofa had an Igbo vice presidential candidate, that MK Abiola won, essentially suggesting that MK Abiola won in Igbo land, despite the fact that Tofa had an Igbo vice presidential candidate, and the children will carry that rubbish all over the earth. The real truth is that there were 4 states in the Southeast in 1993. Abiola won only 1. That's Anambra State. He lost 3. I don't know why people are so committed to lies like this. Then he said Abacha was more democratic. I saw the nonsense he wrote on Twitter. Abacha, how can Abacha, how? Should we talk about what happened to Olu Onogoruwa's son? And how democratic that was? Or should we talk about the families of people that were put in jail, put in prison? Or should we talk about what happened to Kudirat Abiola or Alfred? That's why you see young people on Twitter saying that Abacha was a great man. We need something like that. They want it because they are longing for a past that never existed. The nostalgia they are feeling is based on the lies of some of their leaders. Talking about how great Abacha was, I was like, how, when, where? Did you not live through that period? We'll talk about that on Monday, because that one, it requires his own, proper response. Chibuike says his father's time is done, but you will soon pass on, and it should not be at my hand. You will kill yourself. Chibuike and Yadiego, as you have written it like this, from your mouth or from your fingers to God's ears, your days are numbered according to your own words. You can't do anything to me. It's important to be responsible, because words are powerful. You guys send threats. I've seen somebody wants to kill somebody. I see it on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube now, on TikTok. You send me messages, death threats every day. Don't you think that you guys are stupid? What's your death threat supposed to accomplish? Guy, I have about 80 more years to live on earth. You will fade away. Chibuike and Yadiego, you will fade away very quickly. Your memory will be forgotten.